Good morning.
Good morning.
Welcome to our sanctuary in nature here to Unity Peace Park. If you're part of our regular attendees or you're new or this is your first time, and we want to give a special welcome also to people watching us on Facebook Live and people that will be watching us on YouTube later in the week at any time. So I'm Reverend Mary Masters, and it's my pleasure to welcome and introduce John Two Hawks. And I'll say a little bit more about him a little bit later in the service, but we want to begin with an opening song or an opening piece of music to just kind of help us get centered and set the tone for our service today. So welcome, John.
This is like powwow. This is awesome. It feels great. So because it feels that way, I thought, why not start with a drum, right? So I'm going to do open with a song for you that is actually a song that comes from an album called Traditions, and it's about this kind of connection between Indigenous people and the ancient Celts. And so this kind of is a joining of the two together.
Thank you so much, John. That was absolutely beautiful. So let us now take the energy, the vibration, the love that was expressed through that song and move into our hearts as we begin with an opening prayer. We take a moment to honor Father Sky, Mother Earth, the ground that our feet are touching, the trees, the birds, the breeze, the gentle breeze that is moving through us and all around us now. We are centered in this place of beauty around us and within us. And we take a moment to say, I behold the beauty in myself, I behold the beauty in each other, in all of us. I behold the beauty in this world. And we open our hearts and minds and prepare to receive the blessings of our gathering here this morning. Thank you, God. Amen. So we also like to begin our services by affirming the invocation, the core foundational principle of unity. If you know it, please say it with me. If you don't, I just invite you to close your eyes and feel these words together. There is only one presence and one power, living as the universe and as me, God the good, omnipotent. And we bless our ministry, our spiritual community that holds a vision of a world of love, peace, and abundance for all. And we work to help create that. And how we do it is by practicing our mission, which is to practice the presence of God through prayer, education, service, creativity, and community. And I'm always reminded that we do that just in these Sunday morning services. We're doing all those things: prayer and education, community, creativity, and service. And we practice our core values of being loving, self-loving to ourselves and to our world, spiritually centered, have our heart, inclusive and open and welcoming, respectful and compassionate to come from our heart. And always think about what it's like to walk in another's shoes. Today, for our daily word, which is part of our spiritual practice, Mike Wickam is going to share the message based on the word awareness.
Good morning. Good morning. The word for today is awareness. The world feels new as I grow in awareness. Spending time in mindful contemplation increases my awareness of my surroundings. As I concentrate and focus my attention, I shut out distractions and settle my unquiet mind. My world begins to feel brighter, vibrant, and more alive as I notice the soft sounds and minute textures and colors I've overlooked before. Spending time in prayer increases my awareness of God's goodness, which I share with others when I am patient and kind, generous and forgiving. This goodness returns to me as kindness and gentleness in the people I meet and the ease and grace in all places I go. The world has not changed, but I have. My awareness of God in and as my life has opened, my eyes and my ears, my mind and my heart. The Bible quote for today is, "Open my eyes so that I may behold wondrous things out of your law." Psalm 119:18. And to repeat the word, the world feels new as I grow in awareness. The world feels new as I grow in awareness.
And Mike is one of our board members, and we appreciate his gifts in many ways. And now is the time for blessing of our prayer requests, the prayers that are the prayer box. Just a reminder, we bring it out every Sunday when we're on the Peace Park, so you can physically add your prayers on a piece of paper, but also we know that our thoughts are prayers, and so at this time you can just bring to mind those that are on your prayer list or for yourself. Reverend Allure is our prayer chaplain today. And a couple things I'd like to include in our prayers. We learned this week that the shared granddaughter of Rosie Robinson and Georgia Henley passed away this 2 days ago, Tootie Finch, of COVID. And so she was the mother of Mason and Mia, part of our youth ed program. So we're holding Rosie and Georgia and their families in our prayers this week. And also I think we want to hold in prayer all those in New Orleans and in the area that may be impacted by the storm that's coming through. So just Take a deep breath and make that journey, that 18-inch journey from the head to the heart. And hold these people and these situations in our hearts. And as we breathe deeply into the heart, we feel that love of God embracing all of us, all people, everywhere. There is only one mind. Our brains are separated one from another, but the mind of God is the mind that all people think in. And so we have this bond of love. And when we share it with others, it starts a ripple effect. It embraces everyone. And so we know that love is the answer to every prayer. Love is the answer to every need. And we just feel the pulsing of love in our hearts and share that through the mind of God with all beings. We send out that healing, loving message to us. No one is left out. Everyone is included. Thank you, God. Amen. So now, it's my pleasure and great honor to introduce John Two Hawks, and I also want to introduce his beautiful wife, Peggy Hill, who is such a great support to him and just makes it so easy for us to be able to host John and to have everything flow smoothly. So we're so grateful for Peggy's organizational and communication skills that are part of the flow. But a little bit about John. He is a Grammy-nominated recording artist, a speaker, an author, an activist who's spoken at events and in venues around the world for decades. And we've been very blessed to have him here at Unity of Buffalo several times. So he is a good friend of our ministry. But he's shared the platform with U.S. presidents, senators, well-known Hollywood celebrities, and he's performed for audiences as much as 12,000 people. His music has earned him not only a Grammy nomination, but Emmy nominations, Platinum Awards. He's appeared in feature films. So he's very accomplished, and he's been doing this for 25 years or more. John is a non-enrolled, mixed blood person of Lakota heritage and also Irish descent. But he's a long-time Indigenous civil rights and environmental activist. He uses his speaking, his music, his writing to be a strong advocate and ambassador for all things Indigenous and global. And he brings that message to us here today. He's highly sought after, and we are just really blessed that he comes to Lilydale often. They love having him down there, and we get to borrow the benefits of that by having him here as well. But his message is always about global, Indigenous, earth-based approaches to physical, emotional, spiritual health and wellness. And who can't use a little more of that? So it's with my great pleasure and gratitude that I welcome John today to share a message and music with us.
Thank you so much, Mary. I hope I live up to that. So this, I'm going to begin today with a song, and then we'll go into the message. Today's message is entitled Sacred Roots. And the gist of it is really actually something that is considerably less profound sounding. It's the difference between the in and the on. During this year and a half, and hasn't this been a long year and a half? These are the first events we've done in over a year and a half. And so while we have been at home, one of the things that happened was I had this inspiration to sit down and write this book. And the book is called Of Mist and Stone, and it is an exploration into the mysterious connections that exist between the ancient Celts and the ancient indigenous people of the Americas. I began to notice these spiritual connections when I first went to Ireland and started to go to the sacred places, the ancient places, and I noticed some of the symbology and the concepts, the thoughts about Mother Earth and the roundness of the way of thinking. The actual symbology that you see carved into these ancient 5,000-year-old stones was the same as carvings you'll see in stones here that are indigenous, that are equally old. I started to notice these threads, these ties between these two seemingly very, very distinct and different peoples. I started to notice a connection. And so that's today, later on, today at 11:30, I'm going to do a class on this book about that. But for the message today, I wanted to talk to you about something that happened during the editing process. The book was written, and my editor took the book and went through the whole thing and had a lot of notes for me. And then we sat down together and we were going through the book. At one point, we came to the part of the book where I'm telling a story about a certain group of indigenous people and a vision they had. And how, if they followed that vision, that they would end up in the land that was their ancestral land. And that they just needed to follow that vision. And how ultimately they did follow that vision and they ended up right there where they have always been. And so that was the part of the book we were looking over. And my editor asked me a question. And at the time, I didn't think about it. But afterward, something occurred to me. She said to me, you write in the book that the people would be able to stay in the land that was their ancestral homeland. I'm wondering, should that word be on the land? And so we thought about that for a minute, and I said, no, it's in. It's in the land. And so we left it. We left the word in the book. Later on, I began to think about that little exchange that we had, and I thought about it. And it occurred to me that little distinction that we had there when we were doing this editing process laid something bare. It opened something up. It revealed something. It revealed a chasm between two different worldviews, two different ideas of how we see the world we live in. And it really boils down to two-letter words. In or on. Are we in the land or on the land? There is a difference. To be in something means to be a part of it, means to be connected to it. To be on something is a bit different concept. There's a separation implied there. There's a demarcation, a line. You could say, in a way, the in is the circle and the on is the square. Right? The in is that circular sort of oneness with all things that we experience when we're part of something. The on is that sort of separation and division that happens when we're on top of something, right? As Indigenous people, the idea of being connected to the earth, being connected to each other, is an in concept. I find that the Western world is more of an on concept. There's a lot of line drawing, you know, a lot of, well, this line separates this from that, and this is over there and this is over here, right? You're over there and I'm over here. And there's a line between us. There's a separation that occurs when we're on something, when we're on top of it, right? And so this concept of in and out really is something that is worth contemplating. It's worth thinking about it in the context of how we live our lives. Do we want to live our lives in, or do we want to live them on? Right? Do we want to live them in or on? In means to be intertwined with. On, there's no interlacing with on. It's circular to be in. My friend, my Cree buddy of years ago told me this story. He said, you know, it's really hard, he said, to be a round person in a square world. He said, I'm Indigenous and we are round. Everything is round in the Indigenous world. The way we think, even in the old times, if you think about the dwellings, they're all round. They have roundness to them. Even the longhouses that were kind of rectangular had a round top of them. There was circular ways to our culture and our way of living. Everything was circular. And he said, it's real tough being a round person in a square world. He said, I wake up every morning in my square bed in my square room and go to my square bathroom and look in my square mirror. And he said, and then I go downstairs to my square kitchen and get in my square refrigerator and my square cupboard and get out my food and have my first square meal. And then I go out of my square house and go into my car and go down my square city block and go to my square building and go into my square elevator and go up to my square cubicle and look at my square computer all day. He said, real hard to be round in a square world, man. I never forgot that little joke that he told, because it really is profound if you think about it. The square versus the circle, you know? It's two different ways of seeing the world. When I rolled into New York a few days back, I saw a sign and it said, New York State Line. And I looked. I didn't see it. I couldn't find it. Because it's not there. It's a human construct. It's the things that we do in Western society to box things in, to organize and catalog and identify. Indigenous people could care less about any of that stuff. We don't care what's inside the rock. We don't care about breaking it apart and labeling it and figuring out all the layers. And that's not something that Indigenous people care about. We care more about the sacredness of the stone. How would you use the stone? That's what we care about. It's a different worldview, you see. Round versus square, in versus on. This pandemic has changed us in a way, folks. Here we sit. Here we sit. In. You know, has anybody ever, all of us are familiar with the term outside, right? So we were inside, and then the pandemic came, and now we're outside. That's backwards. That's outside. You are outside of the inness of connection with the natural world when you are inside a building. It should be reversed. This is inside. This is the inside. The outside is when we go inside a building. When we enter that door and we are separated, we are out of the natural world, out of that connection, that intimate connection that we have with it. So this is inside. So we've gone in. And I think many of you here could attest to the fact that during this past year or so, we've all gone inward. It's been time to be still, time to contemplate, time to listen, time to hear, time to go inward and to feel and to reconnect. And so, even in a time like this when there is so much, to think about with all the things that are going on in our world, it is still a time for us to reconnect, to reintroduce our spirit to the sacred circle, to go in, to move away from being on and move into that inward relationship where we touch the earth beneath our feet and the wind blows on our face. That is the difference between the in and the on, my friends. And it is sacred root. The roots of a tree go down deep in to the soil of Mother Earth. And in the ancient primeval forests, the tree roots even connect with each other and then bind together. Do you know that in an ancient forest that hasn't been decimated by logging and cutting and all of that, in those ancient forests, if there is a tree that is ill, the other trees will send nutrients to the tree that's struggling. They're trying to teach us how we should be with each other. To go and help someone who's in need. That interconnection that we all have. We experience that when we do more when we spend more time in the inward places. We touch the earth, we reconnect, we recharge. This is where it's at. And I love the fact that when you come outside, there's a loosey-goosiness to it all, right? We were sitting here and I'm just like, Peggy was like, well, what are you going to do? And I'm like, I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait and see where the chairs land. Where the microphone stand ends up. And then we'll start. Everything in its time. That's what happens when you get out of inside four walls. When you come out and you enter into the sacredness of the natural world. You loosen up a little bit. You breathe a little. You're okay if everything isn't perfect. Everything isn't lined up, It's okay. Even when we start today, I'm watching Mary and everything. And, normally when you're in the building, you've got a place to go when you're in between talking. And here, what do? You step back into some dirt and leaves. That's what you do, when you're outside. You're just one with it. You're in it. And that's a beautiful, beautiful thing. And so we should celebrate that. And this is an opportunity for us to reconnect to Mother Earth, Maka'ina, to reconnect to her, to reconnect to ourselves in the process. Because newsflash, folks, we're made of all this stuff. We're made of dirt and soil and minerals and water, and we're made of the stuff of stars. We're connected to the cosmos. We're connected to the trees, to the winds, to the waters, to the fire. We're connected to all of it. It's in us. And the more time we spend in the natural world, in these sacred places, the more connected, the more balanced, and the more at peace we will be. Thank you.
Well, beautiful message. Important reminder that we are together sharing this experience of being in nature, in our experience of spiritual community. And so an important part of our spiritual practice is also meditation. To take time to really listen and to be still and to just begin with our breath. And sometimes I suggest that we sky gaze or take in some nature for a while, and then gently, as you're ready, to close your eyes. And John is going to provide a song, another piece of music that will be our meditation. And I don't really even want to talk over it. I just want us to all breathe, look around, appreciate where we are right now. It's beautiful that the leaves are falling gently from the trees.
I planned it that way.
Yeah, you planned it really well. And let's just enjoy this. So our daily word today of awareness. We're grateful for how John has helped to heighten our awareness. Not only and bless the activity, the human sounds of human activity on the earth, and the more than human activity on earth. The world feels new as I grow in awareness. Our daily word tells us. So we can breathe into that. Our world feels new. My world feels new. Our world feels new as I grow in awareness in the earth, in nature, in community, in our world. So I invite you to maybe pat your heart. I love what John said, that it's all one, that we are connected with the earth. The stars are in us, the cosmos, the earth, the oxygen, the carbon dioxide that the trees breathe, the leaves. We are one with it all. And we couldn't exist without that oneness. Thank you, God. Amen. If you want to take a moment and pat the earth, thank you. Thank you, Mother Earth, for blessing us today. I appreciate Eve is here doing yoga with the tree. We talked about that a few weeks ago. So, yeah, hug the tree. There's enough we can all share. Grab a hug before you leave. So, thank you, John. What a wonderful message. So, let me just remind us that part of our spiritual practice is sharing tithes and love offerings with those places that spiritually feed us and nourish us, and hopefully for all of us, Unity of Buffalo is a big part of that. So while we're gathering outside, we're not actually passing a basket the way we normally would, but there is a box on the welcome table to receive love offerings, and we just really encourage you to, before you leave today, to leave a gift, to think about what would generous giving feel like for me right now, in appreciation for what I've received. And we have a blessing that we use for our love offerings and tithes. If you know it, you can say it with me. Divine love, through me, blesses and multiplies all that I am, all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Freely I give, and freely I receive. Thank you, God. And we bless these gifts and see them pressed down, shaken together, heaped up and running over and returned to every giver. And some of us really like to move that energy with our hands and our bodies and our thoughts and our prayers. So anyway, so you can leave a check or cash in the love offering box, or you can also give a gift online through PayPal or using a debit card on our website, unitybuffalo.org. And we have several wonderful things coming up. One is Unity's World Day of Prayer is Thursday, September 9th. And we're going to have our service, weather permitting, of course, outside here on the Peace Park, around the Labyrinth. And it will be at 7 o'clock on Thursday. And we hope to close the service with candlelight just as the sun goes down. Also, as you heard if you were here last week, Tom DeLore and his wife Kathy are going to be presenting a two-part workshop on forgiveness. And boy, we can all be blessed by that idea. It will be on Saturday mornings on Zoom, September 11th, beginning September 11th, and this is, of course, the 20th anniversary this year of 9/11, and September 18th. And you can sign up for it on our website, and a free will offering is invited, but Otherwise, it's our gift to the community. And there's also a free downloadable book that Tom created. You can register on our website for the upcoming workshop, Finding Forgiveness and Feeling Love, beginning Saturday, September 11th at 10. It will not only help you forgive yourself, others, and God, but also reduce stress while encouraging others to care you care about as well. And also, we're really pleased to announce that Anand D. George, our soloist with our music program, is going to be joining Tom and Kathy with this workshop. And she's obviously a wonderful Unity musician, but she has an extensive background as a music therapist, and of course has studied Eastern mystical tradition for many years. So she's going to be a great asset in addition to including music with this workshop. So, boy, that's a super bonus right there. And then just another thing is you'll be hearing more about our autumn equinox celebration that Annabelle is organizing. And that's going to be on the day of the equinox, Wednesday the 22nd, starting at 5, outside here on the Peace Park with live musicians and spiritual activities and so forth. So we're ready to close now. I want to do we'll say our prayer for protection together. And then I think John will do one more song to close out our service. So let's affirm together, the light of God surrounds us. I am light. We each are. The love of God enfolds us. I am love. The power of God protects us. I am power. The presence of God watches over us. I am presence. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well. And we are the light, the love, the power, the presence that God is. God bless you all. Thank you for coming.